The scent of jasmine, heavy and cloying, hung thick in the air. Sashenka, her wedding dress a silken mockery of happiness, stood by the window, watching the pale light of dawn paint the Moscow sky. Her reflection stared back, a porcelain doll with eyes that held a chilling, cold fury. Just hours ago, she had walked down the aisle, a vision of youthful innocence, her hand clasped in the worn, bony hand of Dmitry Egorov, the renowned professor, a man nearly twice her age, his face etched with the wisdom of countless years, his eyes a cold, calculating blue. He was almost an old man. She was almost a child. Boris, their son, would later write, his words imbued with a lifetime of melancholy. And all his life he will think that they made a fatal mistake. The mistake was not their marriage, but the very foundation it was built upon. Sashenka, a young woman of exquisite beauty and a spirit that burned like 1,000 suns, had been promised to Dmitri by her father, a desperate man seeking a way out of crippling debt. The marriage was a transaction, a business deal cloaked in the trappings of romance. Sashenka had been a star, a dazzling comet in the Moscow society. Her beauty was a beacon, drawing admiring glances and whispering compliments. The Asterisk, they called her, a name that reflected the bright, flickering light of her personality. Her world was one of balls, grand gatherings, and the intoxicating thrill of being adored. Yet she was trapped in a gilded cage, a bird yearning for flight, but tethered by the invisible chains of her father's folly. The night of her wedding, when Dmitri, a man of intellect and ambition, finally claimed his prize, Sashenka had felt a cold, hard dread grip her heart. There was no love, no tenderness, only the suffocating weight of his presence. His touch, a chillingly detached caress, felt like the cold grip of death. In that moment, she hated him, a hate that burned with the fierceness of 1,000 suns, a hate that would consume her for the rest of her life. The years that followed were a symphony of resentment. Sashenka, once the radiant Asterisk, became a ghost of her former self. Her laughter, once a melodious chime, became a hollow echo. Her eyes, once sparkling with life, now held a haunted, desolate emptiness. She withdrew into herself, her spirit encased in a shell of ice. Dmitri, a man of steel and unwavering logic, remained indifferent. He saw her loathing, her silent rebellion, and he bore it with an impassive stoicism. He was a man who thrived on logic, on control, and her volatile emotions were a foreign language he refused to learn. He remained focused on his work, his research, his place in the academic world. He saw their marriage as a chess game, a strategic alliance where love played no part. And in the midst of this Cold War, a child was born. Boris, a delicate boy, with his mother's eyes and his father's aloof demeanor, became the silent witness to the cold, loveless marriage. He saw his mother's agony, her silent struggle against a love she never wanted, and he saw his father's stoic indifference, his detached acceptance of the marriage as a necessary compromise. Boris, even at a young age, understood the weight of this unspoken truth. He felt the tremors of the earthquake that had ravaged his parents' souls, and he navigated the treacherous terrain of their fractured world with a cautious grace, desperately trying to find a path that wouldn't shatter their already broken lives. He became a bridge, a fragile thread, attempting to connect two souls irrevocably separated by a chasm of hate. The years passed, and Boris grew into a man. He watched his mother wither away, her beauty fading like a flower left in the sun, while his father, the brilliant professor, continued to climb the ladder of academic success. In the end, it was a stroke, a cruel twist of fate that took Dmitri, leaving Sashenka alone in a world that had never truly embraced her. Boris, his heart heavy with the burden of his parents' unhappy story, watched as Sashenka, the star who had fallen to earth, faded into the shadows, slowly but surely, until she disappeared from the world altogether. He was left with the legacy of his parents' flawed union, a testament to the devastating consequences of a relationship built on calculations and devoid of love.